Hello, this is Sophomore Astrology. My name is Sarah, and for this video, I'm going to talk about the Aquarius rising sign or the Aquarius Ascendant. Now, be sure to like, share, and comment on this video, subscribe to my channel, and then also you can find me on Instagram at Sophomore Astrology, and then I have a website, sophomoreastrology.com. There you can send me a message, and you can book a natal chart reading or a birth chart reading with me. And then also on that website, you could check out my blog. I try to post an article every Wednesday, or at least just post on Wednesdays in general. Go ahead and check that out. I just talk about random spiritual stuff on there. So to get into the video, we're talking about the Aquarius Ascendant or the Aquarius rising sign, but to kind of talk about how to calculate what your ascendant sign is. You could just simply Google how to calculate your ascendant sign or just your birth chart in general. You need to know your birth time, your birth date, and then the city you were born in. Now, the reason why it's so important to know your birth time when you're calculating your ascendant sign is because the ascendant sign changes every 2 hours. So it's very specific to time. And knowing the specific time as well will let you know the degree of your rising sign, of your ascendant sign, right? And when you know the degree, you can kind of know whether you're kind of leaning towards the sign before or the sign after. So yeah, that's how you calculate your ascendant sign. Now, to kind of give a brief overview of what the ascendant sign is, or what the rising sign is. It is the external self. It's how you come off to the world. You know, what characteristics do you embody, or what is readily seen when people see you? It's your self-expression, right? Now, to kind of give a couple of examples, I have a couple celebrities who have their Aquarius rising sign, right? So we have celebrities such as Shia LaBeouf, Zendaya, Barack Obama, Orlando Bloom. We have Regina King, Mac Miller, and then the singer Maluma. So these celebrities have their Aquarius rising sign. So another reason why it's good to know what sign is in your ascendant is because your ascendant sign sets up the rest of your houses. So with knowing that Aquarius is in your first house, you can kind of put each sign, each zodiac sign in each house subsequently. So what I mean by that is that you have Aquarius in the first house, then you have Pisces in the second house. Aries is in the third house, Taurus is in the fourth house. In the fifth house, you have Gemini. In the sixth house, you have Cancer. Leo's in the seventh house. Virgo's in the eighth. In the ninth house, you have Libra. In the 10th house, you have Scorpio. In the 11th house, you have Sagittarius. And last but not least, in the 12th house, you have Capricorn. So even though that's also why I was saying before, it's important to know the specific birth time, because even if you come up with your birth sign, let me backtrack. Even if you come up with your ascendant sign, right? Depending on the degree, sometimes you can have the same sign in two houses. Like maybe if your Aquarius ascendant is a little bit late, who knows? You could have Virgo both in the 8th and the 9th house. So then you're kind of missing one of the signs in one of your houses. And that's also important to know too. So yeah, that's pretty much how the ascendant sign maps out your houses. So having Aquarius as a rising sign or ascendant sign is in so many ways having the planet Saturn and Uranus in your first house. Now, when someone has Saturn in their first house, it kind of gives someone a very earthy vibe to them. They could be very serious. They could be very intimidating because Saturn is a very authoritative, it's an authority figure. It's a very fatherly, masculine, pragmatic, no-nonsense planet. So that could be someone's vibe that you might get off of them when they have an Aquarius ascendant. Is like having Saturn in the first house. But also, too, the beautiful thing about Aquarius is that Aquarius is not only ruled by Saturn, but it's also ruled by Uranus. Now, Uranus is a planet of rebellion, of being innovative, being a rule breaker, and kind of wreaking havoc on society, because there is a need and a strong desire to kind of destroy all the things that have kind of kept society back, things that are outdated, the old tried and true that is no longer true to anyone anymore. It's like any type of like societal expectations. It's like that this Aquarius energy just wants to overthrow all of that and replace it with something that is new and innovative and works for everyone. So people with this rising sign, they can like I said, they kind of they could appear very serious, and there's also a old soul way about them, but it's more so kind of like understanding the karmic laws of everything. They have allegiance to karmic laws and to universal laws more so than what society expects. So these people could have a shock factor about them. You know, they might change their appearance in a way that is very shocking and takes people back a long time. You know, this could be the simplest way of giving an example of this is someone with this placement, they might they might get bored and want to shock people, and they might show up with pink neon hair just to kind of change it up a bit. That's kind of like an Aquarius rising sign, you know, and it's also like a very unyielding, but then also very I don't know. It's an unsettling energy that they might get off to people, and it's very, like I said, it could be very intimidating, because these people could feel, even though you know that they're just a person, they might not feel like just a person. They might feel like a planet, because both Saturn and Uranus are older planets, so they feel like an older soul that you don't really want to mess with. There is that intimidation thing going on, but I kind of feel like because they're an old soul, they understand, like I said, all these universal and karmic laws. So there's a part of them that knows the rules enough to want to break them and know how to break them in the best way, you know? So that's kind of like my overview. It's like they really want to express themselves authentically and individualistically. You know, they really want to, they either come off as an individual, or they just want to be expressed in a very individualistic way. You know, very unique. You know, they might have a very unique look about them. So that's kind of like my nutshell with Aquarius being in the first house. Now, the nice thing about knowing your ascendant sign is like it kind of maps out the rest of your houses. So Aquarius being in the first house also means that they have Aries in the third house. Now, the third house is all about, you know, your early childhood development. It could be about how you learned as a child when you were young. It could talk about like your early education, whether that's like, you know, didactic learning in the school system, or it's simply just learning life in general as a young spirit or as a young person. And they have Aries in the third house. So these are people who definitely learn the best by being by themselves. Like they learn independently. They have to find the answers themselves. It's almost like they end up trusting their instincts and trusting their knowledge, because it's like an instinctual nature to want to kind of find the answers out for themselves. And they might learn from their mistakes. They might also learn from making a fool of themselves, you know? So that's kind of like how, like with Aries in the third house, is someone who like could learn very quickly and also learn from mistakes and learning from their own individual and independent, you know, I don't know. It's just like they learn things by themselves better. So that's Aries in the third house. The next thing is that they have Taurus in the fourth house. So fourth house is about it's Cancerian energy. It's motherly, nurturing, feminine energy. So the way that these people feel very comfortable, or how they've been nurtured in the past, is Taurus energy. You know, Taurus is fixed earth. So they might see feminine energy, at least in this lifetime, or they've seen it in the past. Feminine, nurturing, maternal energy, it embodies the spirit of Venus. And Venus is all about love and sex and romance. So their feminine energy, or the feminine energy that they're accustomed to, is very feminine and very harmonious, and it can be very beautiful too. But with it being an earth sign too, their feminine energy, or at least the feminine energy that they are accustomed to, could have been very stubborn. Also could have been very practical to a point where it's not even like cohesive or good for anyone, you know? And also this energy, like I said, it's very stubborn. So they might have had a very stubborn mother, or whoever embodied the feminine energy as a child. That person could have been very stubborn, very beautiful, but wanted things to be their own way. So they might be used to having to relinquish what they want in order to keep their relationships feeling like nurturing and cohesive and balanced. So there's that. The next house that I want to talk about is that they have Gemini in the 5th house. Now, the 5th house is all about creativity and dating and children and drama. And when you put Gemini in this house, it's as though, like, when it comes to dating, they might get bored very easily if they keep kind of like dating the same people or dating in the same spaces or places and stuff. Also, too, it's like they like to flirt. It's a lot of playful verbal banter that they like to do with people, especially when it comes to dating, or when they have that, like, when they're allowed to let themselves embrace their inner child. Their inner child is very, I don't know, is very playful with their words. You know, also, too, I kind of feel like people with this placement, it could mean that they either were a very hyper child, or they could have hyper children, or very smart children, or children who are very curious too. So that's Gemini in the 5th house. The next house I want to talk about is that they have Leo in the 7th house. Now the 7th house, house is Venus energy. It's like Libra energy. So it's about relationships and the harmony and the cohesiveness and the ebb and flow between people. I also kind of feel like the 7th house is what you are here to kind of learn a lot from. It's the sign you learn a lot from, because being an Aquarius rising, the opposite of Aquarius is Leo. So there's a lot of lessons to learn with Leo energy, and they will learn it through relationships. So whether it's all about, the 7th house is all about long-term relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic, it doesn't matter. The lessons that they learn from Leo is learning how to be dramatic, and not dramatic in the negative sense, but to kind of like, like have that really like theatric energy, and really understand that sometimes in life that energy is important to embody, you know, to really learn from illuminating people, because Saturn and Uranus, I didn't really check, but Aquarius is more of a hidden planet. Because Aquarius is in opposition of the sun. Because Leo, the sun is, how do I say this? Leo is ruled by the sun. And if Aquarius is that opposite energy, Aquarius is not in the sun. It's a more hidden energy. So I feel like people with Aquarius rising, they kind of like learn what it means to shine and be illuminating, you know, and kind of harness that solar energy that Leos just easily are able to like facilitate within their own energy, right? So I feel like that is like a soul lesson that they have to learn, is that they'll learn in their relationships, like the ebb and flow of who gets the attention, you know, or they could attract partners who are very egotistical, but they could also attract partners who are very creative and very loving and very childlike as well, that keeps the relationship alive. So that's Leo in the 7th house. The next house I want to talk about is that they have Scorpio in the 10th house. Now, the 10th house it's all that Capricorn energy. It's about your legacy and your reputation. What are you going to leave behind in this world? I honestly feel like the 10th house kind of reminds me of the Egyptians, because you know how they wanted to have their legacy last beyond generations and lifetimes? That is Capricorn energy. So when you put the sign Scorpio in the 10th house, it's meaning that someone's legacy and reputation will be very powerful and very transformative. you know, and it's also kind of like these people take their what they do for a living very seriously. It almost feels like a life or death situation, you know, with what their career is able to do for people and for themselves. You know, the most concrete way I could explain it is that these people could be the ambulance, and they literally are the first person to kind of step in to maybe save someone from dying. You know, something like that, you know, where it's very transformative and very powerful. What they leave behind can be too. And it's also too, you could kind of say this is a combination of both Capricorn and Scorpio, because it's like Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, and then Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's a lot of Plutonian and Saturnian energy there, where it's kind of like it's very powerful, very masculine, and very authoritative, very just like it's just domineering energy in the 10th house too. So these people could be like very much strong leaders, you know. They could also be very impactful with whatever they do in life when it comes to their career and what they kind of leave behind to people, you know. So yeah, that's Scorpio in the 10th house. Now, these people who have an Aquarius Ascendant, they have Capricorn in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house, it embodies Pisces energy. So that means, like, when it comes to how they are spiritually and when they enter into the ethereal world, it's kind of like they take over. It's like they take over that whole side of themselves with like a Capricorn spirit. You know, this also means that in past lives, I kind of feel like they really did hone in on and really did learn the lessons of a Capricorn in a past life. Because there is, when it comes to their spirit, there's an unyielding and authoritative like energy coming from them. You know, if like spirituality is the mountain, Capricorn is the sign that can move that mountain and crumble it and kind of like start it from anew, you know. But the 12th house is also about like someone's undoing, you know, what can make someone really unravel. And if they are not really using that cardinal earth energy to kind of like really take charge of their third dimensional world, it can really unravel who they are, you know. It's kind of like they have to remember what they were like in a past life and really harness that Capricorn energy again, which meaning is like Capricorn, like I said, it's like it's the 10th house, so it's all about reputation and career and making something of you know, really turning your purpose into something that is affecting to other people. And if they don't approach spirituality in that way, that could be their undoing, you know. And I think that's also too why like Aquarius as a rising sign, they could be very inspirational because they really did have that discipline, that spiritual discipline to really like learn the universal laws and karmic laws in past lives. So in this life, they seem like they don't really care about the rules that have been built, but in a sense, they understand that society, if at the end of the day, you know, everyone's always saying that society is just messed up. You know, people who have strong Uranus and Saturn energy understand that society is messed up because there are many things in society that have been outdated. Many traits and cycles and themes that have kind of been perpetuated over and over again, and it's kind of been expired, you know, the way people do things and the way people see the world. So that's why I think it's like good that I did this video during Aquarius season, you know, because this is the time where it's like Aquarius risings, they appear to be a friend and an ally. They want to be hopeful to people and give hope. And they do that by rebelling against the things that people don't want to speak out and say. And, you know, the things that people don't want to transform. So with that, that's like kind of my take on the Aquarius Ascendant rising. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching, and you have a good rest of your day.